There are moments in life when you walk into your own home, yet something feels unfamiliar. The air feels heavier. Your peace feels interrupted. Small disturbances begin to repeat, and deep inside you, a silent question starts to grow. What is really happening here? Many people ignore these signals. They distract themselves, they rationalize, they suppress their intuition. But awareness is the first step toward inner strength. Today, we will explore subtle signs that may indicate negative energies or witchcraft-like influences in your living space, not to create fear, but to awaken clarity, presence, and personal power. Because once you see clearly, you can stand firmly. There are times when disturbances begin so quietly that you almost doubt whether they are real. A soft sound in the night, an object not exactly where you remember placing it, a door slightly open when you were certain you had closed it. At first you dismiss it. You tell yourself it is nothing. The mind is very skilled at protecting its comfort. It prefers familiar explanations over uncomfortable awareness. But when these small events begin to repeat, when they form a pattern, something inside you starts paying attention. The important thing in such moments is not to rush toward fear. Fear clouds perception. It weakens the clarity you need most. Instead, learn to observe. Become still. Watch what is happening without immediately labeling it as supernatural or dangerous. Disturbances in a home can have many causes: physical, emotional, psychological, and sometimes energetic. What matters is not the label you give it, but the awareness you bring to it. When your environment becomes unpredictable, your nervous system also becomes unsettled. You may start moving through your own space with hesitation. You may begin to question your memory, your sense of control. This is where your inner strength is tested. Because true stability does not come from perfectly controlled surroundings. It comes from a mind that remains centered even when circumstances feel uncertain. Patterns are powerful teachers. If objects fall repeatedly from the same place, if certain sounds occur at similar times, if minor accidents happen again and again, this is not an invitation to panic. It is an invitation to become more conscious. Often, what we call disturbance is a mirror. It reflects neglected aspects of our lives. A cluttered room may reflect a cluttered mind. A chaotic routine may create chaotic outcomes. When awareness increases, many mysteries begin to lose their power. There is also another dimension to this. Every home carries the emotional energy of the people who live within it. Arguments, resentment, fear, and suppressed tension do not simply disappear after the moment passes. They leave subtle impressions. Over time, these impressions can create an atmosphere that feels heavy or unstable. You may not see it, but you feel it. And then, when a small, unexplained event happens, the mind immediately connects it to something larger, something threatening. This is why your first response must always be grounding. Slow your breath, stand firmly, bring order to your surroundings. When you clean your space with intention, you are not only removing physical dust, you are clearing mental fog. When you create routine, you are not only organizing time, you are strengthening your inner structure. Awareness transforms reaction into understanding. Remember, the power of disturbance lies mostly in how you interpret it. When you observe calmly, you reclaim authority over your experience. And when you reclaim authority, even the unknown begins to lose its grip. There are moments when emotions arise inside you with such intensity that you struggle to understand where they are coming from. You wake up feeling irritated without a clear reason. A simple conversation turns into conflict. A small inconvenience suddenly feels overwhelming. You may look at the people around you and wonder why everyone seems more sensitive, more reactive, more distant. These sudden emotional shifts are often dismissed as mood swings or stress. Yet when they begin to repeat frequently within the same environment, they invite deeper observation. A home is not only a physical structure made of walls and furniture. It is a living field of experiences, memories, and emotional exchanges. Every argument leaves an imprint. Every moment of fear, resentment, or disappointment lingers longer than we expect. Over time, these subtle layers accumulate. You may not consciously remember each incident, but your nervous system remembers, your heart remembers, and slowly this invisible atmosphere begins to influence how you feel and how you respond to life. When emotions change without logical cause, many people become afraid. They assume something external is controlling them. But before we jump to conclusions about unseen forces, we must first examine the inner landscape. Emotional discipline is one of the greatest protections you can develop. When you learn to witness your feelings instead of becoming them, you create space between stimulus and reaction. In that space, clarity is born. Imagine walking into a room where tension has been building for days. No one says a word, yet you immediately feel the heaviness. This is not magic, this is sensitivity. Human beings are deeply intuitive creatures. We constantly read subtle signals, tone of voice, body language, silence. When negativity becomes the dominant frequency in a home, it begins to shape behavior. People speak more sharply, they misunderstand more easily, they withdraw instead of connecting, and then they wonder why harmony feels so distant. What appears as sudden emotional chaos is often the result of prolonged unconsciousness. We move through our days reacting automatically, carrying unresolved thoughts and feelings from one moment into the next. Without awareness, this emotional residue grows. It colors our perception, it influences our choices. Eventually, even neutral situations feel threatening or exhausting. This is why inner stillness is essential. When you cultivate moments of silence, you allow emotional turbulence to settle. When you practice mindful breathing, you send a signal of safety to your body. You remind yourself that not every feeling is a command that must be obeyed. Some feelings are simply waves passing through the ocean of your mind. Your responsibility is not to eliminate emotions, but to understand them, to observe their patterns, to recognize when they are amplified by the environment you inhabit. When awareness enters the home, transformation becomes possible. Conversations become softer. Reactions become slower. Presence replaces impulsiveness. There are moments when the world around you seems fragile in ways that defy logic. Lights flicker, electronics fail for no reason, mirrors crack, or objects that hold meaning break repeatedly. At first, you may dismiss these occurrences as coincidence. Perhaps it's just a faulty appliance, a weak battery, or an accident. But when these events start happening in patterns, when the ordinary becomes unusually unpredictable, your intuition begins to notice, and you realize there is more at play than mere chance. Objects in our environment carry energy. They are not alive in the way we are, but they interact with the energy we bring into our space. A home that is disorganized, tense, or emotionally heavy begins to reflect that energy outward. Electronics may malfunction more often because the energy in the home is chaotic. Objects may break because the space around them is not stable. The external world is often a mirror of our internal state, showing us the cracks we refuse to acknowledge inside ourselves. When things repeatedly fail or break, it is easy to jump to fear. We think someone is intentionally causing this. We feel vulnerable in the place that should feel safest. But fear alone weakens our perception and clouds our ability to act. The key is not to panic, but to observe, to ask calmly what these patterns are teaching us. Are there areas of our life that are disordered, habits left unattended, emotions left unresolved? When we ask these questions honestly, we begin to reclaim control. There is also a symbolic dimension to these disturbances. Breaking objects often carry meaning beyond the physical. Mirrors reflect our sense of self, and when they crack, they symbolize disruptions in clarity or perception. Electronics represent connection and communication. When they fail, it is a signal to examine how we are connected to people, to ideas, to ourselves. Even small, repeated disruptions are reminders to pay attention, to restore balance, and to strengthen our inner structure. The way to approach these signs is with conscious action. Begin with small, deliberate steps. Clean your space. Repair what can be repaired. Rearrange or remove what no longer serves you. Bring light into dark corners. Open windows and let fresh air move through your home. Every act of attention, no matter how mundane it seems, has the effect of restoring order not just in the physical environment, but in your mind and spirit as well. When objects repeatedly break or fail, it is less about magic and more about awareness. The world is teaching you to pay attention, to restore balance, to claim authority over your life. External disruptions lose their power when your inner foundation is strong. Observing patterns, responding consciously, and bringing order back into your life is how you transform chaos into clarity. Pay attention to these signs, not with fear, but with presence. There are times when you step into your home and feel an invisible weight pressing down on your shoulders. You move through the rooms, but your energy feels drained. Tasks that once seemed simple now feel exhausting. Motivation vanishes, and even small decisions feel like monumental efforts. When this happens repeatedly, it is a signal that the space around you may be affecting your vitality. The home you live in is not just walls and furniture. It is an energetic field that can either nourish you or deplete you. Many people overlook this. They assume fatigue and lack of drive are simply personal issues, and they push harder to compensate. They drink more coffee, work longer hours, or distract themselves with noise. But the root of the problem is often deeper. When the energy of a home becomes stagnant from clutter, unresolved conflict, or negative emotional patterns, it begins to sap life force. The mind feels foggy, emotions feel dull, and the body signals exhaustion even when rest is available. Energy follows attention, and if the space is not supporting you, your inner energy struggles to sustain itself. This is why reclaiming your power begins with awareness and small, deliberate actions. Notice how your home makes you feel. Where do you feel heavy? Where does light naturally flow? What areas feel closed in or tense? By observing without judgment, you begin to understand the subtle ways your environment interacts with your energy. Then comes action. Clearing clutter, letting sunlight into dark corners, opening windows to allow fresh air. These simple acts shift energy profoundly. They are not mere cleaning routines. They are rituals of restoration that signal to your mind and body that you are reclaiming vitality. Beyond physical changes, your emotional and mental state is closely tied to the environment. Unresolved tension between family members, lingering stress, and unspoken conflict all contribute to an invisible heaviness that drains motivation. When you address these elements consciously, through honest communication, meditation, or simply creating space for quiet reflection, you restore alignment between your inner and outer worlds. Your home becomes a partner in your well-being, not a drain on it. Energy is subtle, but it is undeniable. When a space supports you, even mundane tasks feel lighter. Inspiration returns, creativity flows, and the simple act of being present becomes joyful. When energy is blocked, the opposite occurs. Fatigue dominates, procrastination becomes constant, and life feels like a slow current you cannot escape. Recognizing this is the first step. Taking small steps to restore energy is the next. Consistency matters. The effects accumulate quietly, often unnoticed, until suddenly you realize your inner spark has returned. Your home is a reflection of your energy, and your energy is a reflection of how you inhabit your space. By consciously nurturing the environment, you reclaim what was lost. There is a quiet language that exists in every home, one that speaks not through words, but through feelings. Sometimes you enter a room and immediately sense that something is off. A subtle unease brushes against your mind, a tingling at the back of your neck, a restless feeling that makes it hard to settle. You might glance around and see nothing unusual, yet the instinct remains, a sense of being watched, or that the atmosphere itself is heavier than it should be. This is not paranoia. It is intuition, the natural sensitivity humans carry to their surroundings, quietly alerting you to imbalance. Intuition is one of the most underappreciated tools we have. It does not scream or demand attention, it whispers, and when ignored, it persists, often through discomfort or repeated subtle signals. In a home, these signals can manifest as recurring unease, restlessness, or a sense that the space is draining rather than supporting you. People often dismiss these feelings because they are invisible and unquantifiable. But the truth is that your body and mind are constantly perceiving energy on levels beyond what your eyes can see. Trusting these sensations is not superstition. It is an acknowledgement of the natural guidance already present within you. When these feelings appear, the first response is often fear. The mind wants to explain them, categorize them, control them. But fear clouds clarity. The real power lies in presence, observing without judgment, grounding yourself, and acknowledging the sensation without letting it dominate your state of being. The space itself is neutral. It does not dictate your experience. Your response to it does. When your mind is clear, your heart steady, and your awareness active, even subtle disturbances lose their ability to unsettle you. There is also a deeper lesson in these moments. Feeling unsettled or watched is often a reflection not only of the environment but also of areas within yourself that require attention. Have there been unresolved conflicts, suppressed emotions, or neglected aspects of personal life? Energy flows where attention goes. When you are fully aware, the home becomes an ally rather than a source of discomfort. You can adjust the environment to support your well-being, whether by organizing, cleansing, bringing light and air into dark corners, or simply cultivating stillness within yourself. The subtle nature of intuition means it is often your first warning system. It alerts you before things escalate, before disturbances become more obvious, before negative patterns take root. Honoring these signals strengthens the connection between your inner awareness and your outer reality. It teaches you to move through life with vigilance without fear, to trust perception without being overwhelmed by it. Being attuned to these feelings transforms the ordinary into awareness, and awareness becomes protection. When you honor intuition, the home no longer feels like a place of uncertainty. It becomes a reflection of your clarity, a container for your presence, and a sanctuary for your energy. Trust what you feel, and let that awareness guide every step you take.